Now we will listen to Professor Dr. Mustafa SARICA. I would like to read his biography. He continues his studies as a lecturer at Adnan Menderes University, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Department of French Language and Literature. He completed his master's and doctoral studies in linguistics. His studies continue on the axis of linguistics, semiotics, and semiotic literature. Etymology, morphology, and syntax are also among his special interests. He has research articles on the history of writing and writing systems of ancient civilizations, especially the Sumerian appearance and uniform, and he continues his studies in the field. He has many books, book chapters, and scientific articles published in the field of semiotics. He continues his studies on the nature, the universe in the light of semiotics. SARICA is among the founders of Turkish Semiotic Society and Turkish Semiotic Research Journal, TAMGA, the first semiotics journal of Turkey. He is the vice president of Turkish Semiotic Society and is among editors of TAMGA, Turkish Semiotic Research Journal. He has many publications in these research fields. I leave the floor to the Mustafa SARICA to make his presentation titled Stylistic Aesthetics of Discourses in Cinema Interpretations of the Iliad.
Thank you, Betty. Dear colleagues, dear friends, over the centuries, many French words passed into English and were mispronounced by the Anglo-Saxon people. Now, I have to repeat these mistakes while trying to speak English. There is a saying used to describe the situation. Notre ami Mr. Suntokim will understand what I will say. L'anglais est un français mal prononcé. English language is a French mispronounced. And today, I will deepen this mistake a little more with Turkish and French accent. Therefore, I ask for your tolerance. Turkey and Korea Aesthetic and Culture Symposium once again succeeded in bringing together.
Sorry, Professor SARICA. Your sound is a little low. It's possible to turn it up, and there is a bit echo in your voice also.
I don't know why this is.
Hocam biraz az geliyor, bir de yankılanıyor. Biraz düzeltebilme imkanınız var mı acaba?
I don't know what can I do in this subject. I will continue to present my presentation.
Tamam hocam.
Turkey and Korea Aesthetic and Culture Symposium once again succeeded in bringing together two distant friends. I sincerely hope that this meeting will open the door to other events. I remember with gratitude our Professor Doğan Günay, one of the architects of many activities in the field of semiotics and linguistics. I would also like to thank our esteemed Professor Suntokim and his friends for providing this and similar scientific meeting. Betül paylaşacağım önce, pardon, bir dakika. Paylaşım yoktu.
Hocam önce sunumunuzu açıp sonra paylaşım yapın. Öbür türlü olmuyor.
Tamam. The universe and everything in it are full of science. Meaning is the information that appears by reading behind the science. Although science are universal, human and other beings, reading of them is individual and depends on specific conditions. For this reason, there may be individuals who turn to the same indication and make different readings. The reason for this is that the equipment, knowledge, and focus on which the consciousness that performs reading is based are not of the same size and consistency. Among this reading, elements such as vocabulary, syntax, grammatical construction, and pronunciation that make up epic discourse stand out. Under this title, we examine the story of Homer's Iliad, which is the source work and the subtitles of his speech in the movie Troy, which is its cinema version. Discourse has text types demonstrate that they are didactic, conversational, demonstrative, descriptive, and narrative with their own indicator in the stylistic context. Since our job is always to look for indicators that fit the context, we will focus on rhetorical elements in this study. Adding eloquence to plain expression also creates our text type and determine the level of words. Adding impact and grandeur to discourse is the method of certain types of discourse. Certain figure of speech, references, eloquence, rhetoric are tools to make communication effective, powerful, and efficient. Effective discourse is closely related to the order of word as well as word choice. The meaningful sequence of similar vowels or consonants in a discourse create a strong feeling of appreciation in the ears. Expression unleashed by the use of other similar verbal skills is result in a touching communication. The effective, accurate, and powerful voicing of established and fictionalized discourse belong to completely different files and a completely different talent. The transformation of an effective discourse into a melody without the interference of instruments can enchant the listeners. Those who use words skillfully and competently can make the message striking not only with the meaning, but also with the words and syntax that will convey the meaning. Some types of verbal or written communication use this aspect of information exchange and are distinguished from other types in terms of appearance, effect, and power. Various types of poetry, epic, and legends are literary prefix that merged with the intensive use of this method and ways. Rhetoric and stylistic undertake to investigate the ways, methods, and results of taking expression far beyond simple communication. When looked at from this perspective, we see that when people try to acquire all the vital tools, they always add a deep design and aspiration to them. In a sense, this means observing and understanding what is happening in nature and applying it to one's own design. The search for aesthetic is not only a tendency found and used in communication. A touch of beauty, and art stand out in every work of man. Since we are involved in the communication aspect of the work, we want to examine the aesthetic elements on oral or written expression option through a certain display. Our area of investigation will be the movie lyric, in which the legendary texts among the enthusiastic narrative projects are applied. In this context, we would like to discuss the enthusiastic narrative example used in the movie Helen of Troy, which is the cinema adaptation of Homer's Iliad. We know very bad examples that novels and similar literary works adapted to cinema are unfortunately not faithful to the originals, that they go far beyond the scope, and that the main purport and content are carelessly disregarded. However, in this study, we want to understand and explain how the creation and voicing are in the expression and impact power in the discourse examples that we think cannot be completely separated from the source product. For this purpose, we have chosen some of the powerful myths in the adaptation of Helen of Troy, which was inspired by Homer's myth titled Iliad and drew to the cinema as example. We wanted to understand and explain in which aspect the students attain effective expression power. As a source, we choose Homer's myth titled Iliad and the modern adaptation of this myth titled Helen of Troy. We examined the balance of interpretation and harmony between the fictional Helen of Troy from the original Iliad. Since it is very common for adaptation to subtract carelessly from the original source, we didn't pay much attention to the deviation in Helen of Troy, although we found them strange. However, we witnessed that the words in the original source were handled rhetorically very well in the cinema version. Their impact was preserved and the enthusiastic discourse was maintained. We have seen that sometimes strong discourse, which are not in the original text, but do not deviate too much from the spirit of discourse in the source text, nourish, strengthen, and enrich the cinema version. In our research, we will try to evaluate this version together by comparing them side by side. Although our real subject is the original text, since our scope is aesthetic expression, we will also draw attention to the improved discourses in the cinema version. Now, my colleague will continue to our presentation. Yeah.
Stylistic analysis. In terms of discourse, we will try to examine the examples in terms of form and meaning. Stylistic analysis aims to address all formal and semantic elements loaded into the narrative. The morphological approach focuses especially on the ability of syntax to reinforce meaning. However, word selection and discourse attitude are carried out in a way that removes the enthusiasm of the myth. In short, when we say form, we will use criteria such as syntax, word choice, and fictional harmony. When approaching from a semantic perspective, we will focus on the semantic horizon and results that discourse fiction aims to create. Under this heading, we would like to emphasize how much the formal infrastructure serves to the semantic result. Figures of speech used in semantic analysis, all kinds of analogies, words used in special meanings, and polymorphous sentence construction will be discussed. Since the subject is the object, enthusiastic expression, theory discourse, and among the natural examples of mixed text. In parallel with the traditional legend text, it seems that in the cinema version, discourses that are compatible with the original source, but not included there, but which suit the adaptation very well, have also been added. But first, let's give some information about the cinema adaptation in question. From this context, we understand that the script of the movie, inspired by Homer's Iliad myth, was written by David Daniel. This context that means the audience is in great harmony with epic discourse in Homer. In fact, many additional words and discourse that are not included in the main text seem to make this study quite powerful. We can see in this page the movie information And now let's start our analysis by showing the inconsistencies between the stored text and the cinema adaptation with driving. In the Troy film, a king finds his own wars that would be great to see. But in Iliad, Homerus, not found in Homerus' Iliad. In the Troy film, he said, I am someone who has experienced pain that one has experienced before. I kissed the hands of the man who virtually killed my son. But in Iliad Homerus, I have endured what no one on earth has ever done before. I put my lips the hands of the man who killed my son. In the Troy film, he said, let's deal with you. Let's fear before the gods. The winning party will allow appropriate the funeral arrangement to be made. But in Iliad, Homerus, not here, you will do same. A sweet dark land and his strong runner answered. You unforgiven. You don't talk to me of tax. There are no binding of between man and lion. Also, in Troy film, he said, you won't have eyes tonight. You won't have ears or tongue tonight. You will wander through the underworld blind, deep and down. And the deal will know. This Hector, the fool who thought he killed. Ashir. No man alive could keep the dog tax of you. Not even then will your not mother lay you on your deathbed. Mourn the son she bore. The dogs and birds will rent you blood and bone. In the Troy film, we can see this expression. Why should kill you here, Prince Hector, when no one is around to see the defeats? And we can see in Iliad this expression, not found in Homer's Iliad. We want to analyze the factors that create an aesthetic effect and solve the discourse, sound, and structural features of this effect through the five examples seen in the table. These aesthetic finds will provide information about the structural components of epic discourse. There are many problems that are likely to be encountered in the analysis of this type of internationalized misinterpretation. The stored text is ancient Greek. The legend has been transferred into countless languages. The cinema version is commented, processed, and finally based on English. Other language versions have also been translated from English original into other languages. In such a case, making stylistic and rhetorical analysis will remain dependent in many respects on linguistic structure of language use, and the analysis will develop in this direction. Before we begin, let's look at Molyneux's account of rhetoric. Molyneux summarized her views on the influence on persuasion approach of stylistic and rhetoric as follows. Rhetoric is fundamentally dedicated to techniques of persuasion. It aims to make people think or believe what they don't spontaneously think or believe, to make them decide or judge what they have no idea of deciding or doing, to make them even desire what they don't even imagine desiring. We are at crossroads of linguistics, logic, argumentation, and sociology. To argue in order to convenience, to instruct in order to act, to touch in order to seduce, that are the major driving force behind the technique for manipulating individuals, groups, or mass, at work in private public discourse, in advertising or politics, in commerce or training. Morley wants to clarify the approach between the two with following explanation. One part of rhetoric concerns the choice of words and the arrangement of sentences, it means style. Another, the management of text, or means expression, it means figures. Yet another, the regulation of the judgment of taste with regard to aesthetic norms. We can thus see the close relationship between rhetoric and stylistic. These discourses have text, style, and structure dimension. While the source text dimension is in Homer's Iliad version, the second text dimension is the translated text or inspired content seen in the cinema version of these discourses. The local interpretation of the discourse observed in the cinema version are based on the text. Therefore, regardless of the power of audio, commentary, structural fiction is decisive and primary in terms of epic discourse. Naturally, we will focus on sentence structure and grammatical construction and investigate the contribution of formatting to aesthetic effects. Thus, we will enlighten on the grammatical and syntactic foundation of epic discourse. Example 1. A king finds his own wives that would be great his food. C. By saying a king who fights his own wives, the emphasis is on the king who fights himself, not the one who makes others fight. And an attempt is made to create an effect with a semantic expansion. Since it's a line from the movie, its rhetorical intensity is high and its impact is so provoking. This sentence that would be great to see managed to evoke an emotional atmosphere that is more rhetorical than stylistic by opening the door to something that has not happened and will not happen. Even if it doesn't happen, the possibility of it happening is brought to mind. This discourse appears to belong to a file of rhetoric rather than stylistic, and the discourse fiction is made stronger with the element of verbal language in them. Although it is an enthusiastic discourse, a literary fiction that has no equivalent in the Iliad, it has become one of the speeches that remains most in the audience memory in the cinema version. In terms of persuasion, Achilles is asked to look at the face of the soldiers and to watch. It is discussed that if they agree to one-on-one combat, they can return to their family. With this suggestion, both Achilles agrees to fight and the audience is on his side in this time. With this time and this discourse, the audience gets the first clue about Eschel's personality. What we have here is not pure hero, but a personality that has fluctuations and is very difficult to deal with. Eschel is someone who also has deficiencies in terms of virtue. Until he says the line above, many data indicate that he is not virtuous but cruel and unsympathetic. Although this is not our main topic, the counterpart of virtue in both Homer's Iliad and the movie version of Troy are Hector and Priam. Example 2. I am someone who has experienced pain that no one has experienced before. I kiss the hand of the man who virtually killed my son. The second example carries the stylistic and pace and construction rather than rhetoric. Successive sentences say the real move for the end to create the meaning and shape the reader and the audience. While the first sentences are list textually, they create interest and desire to know in the audience. When this feeling reaches its peak, Priam delivers the final blow. The established logic structure makes the discourse look completely enthusiastic with its stylistic escalation. By saying no one had, the interest of the readers and the audience was increased and a great expectation was created about what was hidden and what would be said in the end. Because by saying, I am someone who experienced a pain that no one else has experienced, the speaker creates a problematic act of how this could happen. Then, he satisfies the curiosity created by the first sentence with explanation and solution sentence. Thus, literally, effect created has been perceptible and observable within boundaries of both rhetoric and stylism. Both sentences have judgment content. However, the first sentence reaches thematic integrity with the explanation made by the second sentence. The first carries the prepoetic content and the second carries the explanative content. It is interesting that both sentences are judgmental and complement each other.
Sorry for interrupting, but you have 5 minutes left. Please summarize your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is a relationship that will create a literary effect between the sentence starting with no one has and the sentence starting with I guess. This is enough to turn the discourse into the concept of myth. This discourse is used both in Homer's Iliad and Troy in the cinema version. Moreover, both discourses are almost identical to each other. It is one of the closest to the source text between Iliad and its cinema version. Evaluation and conclusion. Semiotics teach that the universe and everything in it full of signs that mediate meaning. Our subject and scope in this study are aesthetic elements in language and the stylistic indicators that make them visible and understandable. We conducted this research through Prof. We compared Homer's Iliad with the sum of the lines in the movie version of Troy. We tried to analyze the structure and content of these exams with stylistic content and structure. As can be understood from the analysis above, primarily reveals that text type and their literal value based on internal order these texts. Our analysis of the examples quoted from both sources showed that the text of the myth gained an epic appearance with formal arrangement. The cinema version, on the other hand, extracted these texts and transformed them into rhetorical structure rather than stylistic. The cinematic interpretation of this text has a rhetorical content and appearance because they are vocal discourses. Stylistic analysis is the search for structural indicators that create an epic effect within the text or discourse. Our study has shown and confirmed that both the text and the cinema adaptation have stylistic and rhetorical indicators. The presence of this element testifies to the myth, value, and epic structure of the text. These elements appear with stylistic and rhetorical content. Stylistic elements mostly manifest themselves through syntactic construction, inverted discourse, and special vocabulary. Rhetorical elements, on the other hand, although not completely independent of the stylistic structure, exhibit a mythical effect and literally quality through semantic inference and vocal integration. Since it will be not possible to fit the entire research into this presentation period, we kindly request that researchers look at the full text that will be published later. Thanks for watching.